Vre sapleshtar numa ye, numa ye, numa ye, ki putau shidra gustiadinte, miamintesk te o kitaye. Hello everyone, Darth Vegan here, and today is Monday, and this is also the day where the proportional representation will be voted on. But before I head over there and check it out, I have to show you. Basically, last night I went to a Jamaican-themed party hosted by Dawn Butler, which looked a little something like this. And then I also caught Dawn Butler just vibing, and then she noticed me filming. Here it is.
Hey yo, Sean. Hey, tell me, the body really, baby, gotta get pretty. The body really, baby, gotta get pretty. The body really, baby, gotta get pretty. Wind up your body and spin it. Girl, with them bubble out of trouble, you give me some more, turn it around and bring it.
Small number of jobs the industry supports. This is without taking into account the moral argument against their use. For example, arms sales to Saudi, where UK weapons have been used to bomb civilians in Yemen. When weapons are deployed, they release hazardous materials, greenhouse gases, and destroy human beings, building infrastructure, and all living things in their wake. When a weapon is used, another one has to be made to replace it. So if we're serious about tackling the climate emergency, workers engaged in arms production need to be redeployed to use their skills for peaceful purposes. Thank you.
Comprehensive Autism and Neurodiversity Manifesto, and yet, despite this being raised with the Online Policy Forum, it fails to appear anywhere in this report. Conference this is a missed opportunity to give hope to a vast majority in this country, and I call reference back to the Equality Policy Commission.
For a crisis. As furlough ends and hundreds of thousands are pushed into poverty, unemployment or both, we emerge from the worst of the pandemic, not into Johnson's promised sunlit uplands, but into the wintry ruins of more than 10 years of Tory misrule. The supply chain chaos currently freezing our industries and services is just the latest example of government mismanagement combined with corporate greed. Supermarket shelves are empty and garage forecourts have run dry.
Fair enough about schools like mine or the kids I grew up with. My mum and dad were both primary school teachers, and they worked around the clock to ensure that the children they taught got the very best start in life. I'm really proud of that. But they had to do it in the face of an uncaring, short-sighted and out-of-touch Conservative government. I joined the Labour Party because I wanted to change all of that. And it's still what drives me today. After 1997, the first election that I could vote in, everything changed because Labour made a difference. A Labour government that drove down class sizes and hospital waiting times. A Labour government that lifted millions of children and pensioners out of poverty. A Labour government that introduced the first ever national minimum wage.
against? That is carried. Composite 2 on Afghanistan. All those in favour, please show. Those against? That is carried. And now we vote on the emergency motion on AUKUS, the Security Pact. All those in favour of the emergency motion, please show. Those against? Do a card vote on that one as well. Okay, so the first card vote is card vote.
2% for and 67.28% against. This reference back was not carried. Card vote 43, AUKUS, 70.35% for, 29.65% against. Motion was carried. I have another message for all our delegates. So on a point of housekeeping, the venue have asked us to remind that you please take all your bags with you when you leave. Otherwise, those bags will be taken and destroyed in a controlled way. Basically binned. So you've been warned, so all that valuable information that you've collected as you come to the conference.
I'm just proud. Thank you all very much indeed for that. Thank you for the chance to open a session which gets to the heart of what the Labour Party is all about. Winning and exercising power on behalf of those who most need that to happen. Now I'm going to speak, as you know, primarily from the perspective of Wales, a nation where Labour has been in government now for more than 2 decades. And those are 2 decades in which we have been able to demonstrate time and again the value of what Labour can do to change people's lives for the better. And this session, of course, is more than about just Wales. It's a chance to remind ourselves that despite being out of government in Westminster, Labour is in power, making a difference that only Labour can make every single day in communities right across Britain.
And it's for households and it's for businesses large and small. And just the way I think about this in relation to the household sector, and I'll say something about small businesses, is I think people do want to go green, but it's got to be worth their while and it's got to make financial sense for them. What is our potential Achilles heel in this green transition? It's not intent, and it's not people's belief that there's a problem. It's not like we've got a section of the population that's big climate denial or anything like that. It's a sense of is it going to be fair? Is it going to be doable? I think about, just forgive me for being a local MP for a second, but Val's flower shop in my constituency, Val, a friend of mine who runs a flower shop in a place called Aspen in my constituency, should be saying, okay, well, I believe in this climate issue, but what do you want me to do? And I think it'll make sense for me. And I think this is why the kind of forcing us to think about this in this session is really important, because I think if you're looking from the small business end of the telescope, and you know this probably better than me, you'd be thinking, I've got recovery from the pandemic, I've got a massive debt overhang, I've got costs, I'm just about struggling to keep my head above water, and you're asking me, I'm in favour of this green, the green transition and all those things. I worry about it too, but how am I supposed to be part of it? So I think that's the question we've got to answer.
I think people are missing quite a lot of context of what the North has been through, and to represent the second most wealthiest seat in Yorkshire might surprise a lot of you, but I still have communities within my constituency who are in the bottom 5% of Europe in terms of inequality, and that is the issue for levelling up. it's closing the gap within our communities as much as closing the gap between London and the North. And I think that, you know, what that looks like and what that means is missed opportunity for our young people, for our cities, for our economy, for our health. Our health inequalities are going backwards in Sheffield. You know, women's healthy life expectancy is falling, women's actual life expectancy is falling, and that was before the pandemic. And we've seen today in the newspapers that, again, life expectancy has been hit massively by the global pandemic. But I wanted to just really talk a little bit about nature, because I am Shadow Minister for Nature. And the reason I wanted to talk about nature is that we don't know how lucky we've been to have such a great and wonderful countryside to enjoy and have access to. But it is an artificial landscape. And it's an artificial landscape which has these wonderful things going through them called trains that unfortunately don't stop to allow our communities to access and have the privilege of exploring what is so important, and that leisure that you were just talking about.
The reference back of the Work Pensions and Equalities Report from Lewis CLP. Details, I'm just getting it for you, just a second. CAC report, page 17. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, conference. And now the composite on electrical. I'm tired. Okay. And now the composite on electoral reform. Those in favour?
Yay!
And those against?
Oh. Carried. Oh God, here we go.
I think we'll need a card vote.
Oh, the suspense. Ah, so close. Okay, people, so I know we haven't spoken since this morning, but yeah. I've just... I had a bit of confusion because the leaflet they gave out, the PR people, they wanted to. It was basically the same one for yesterday, which was at the other church and at a different time, and yeah, I also went and got a burrito from some Mexican place, of course, and yeah, that was a nice. Ate it in here. I just came here because, I mean, that was another Labour event to do with Europe, and yeah, so they're about to start the proportional representation up. Nice. Okay, people, so I didn't record any of the meeting because you know, the video is running on a bit, but to surmise, basically, although 80% of the constituency party voted for proportional representation, which is huge, the trade unions did not, although one abstained, and as a result has not passed. So, yeah, also, these meetings have been chaired by my former MP. Crazy, right? But anyway, yeah. That's it for today. So as always, hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching, and goodbye. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.